Today, let's talk about sewing a blanket stitch on your sewing machine. Welcome, I do sewing and DIY related content, and today we are be talking about a blanket stitch. Now, this is a more specialized stitch that's not available on all sewing machines, but it does come on mine, and I thought I'd provide a few little tips and tricks for it. This is great for appliques though, so let's go over to our sewing machine, and as you can see, this is what the blanket stitch looks like at the little icon. So I have it set up, and on my sewing machine, you can see it's telling me that I just need to use a regular presser foot, which that is what I have installed right now. I have seen a couple articles and different posts talking about how you could use an open toe or an open embroidery foot. And for both of these, I did try it out with the stitch, and my machine just did not like it at all. It was having a lot of issues trying to sew using these presser feet, so I stuck with the regular presser foot, but definitely something you could look into if you wanted. And I do have a video on how you can use these if you just want a little bit more information and wanted to try it out. Now, I will say that overall this stitch really wasn't that difficult, but there were a couple things I needed to set up first for my machine, especially cleaning the bobbin. So if you have any dirt or lint in your bobbin, that can mess up the stitch. In addition, you're going to want to have a lot of thread on hand. So this stitch uses quite a bit of thread to go through, so when you are starting a new project, be sure you have a couple bobbins filled, and then you're also using a new spool just so that you don't run out of thread during it, or at least have the second one on hand. Now I have everything set up for this, so let's give it a try using this blanket stitch. So for my fabric, what I have done is I've added interfacing to the applique, and then I am just going to start doing that stitch. Now the needle is going to be on the right hand side, so the yellow fabric on mine is where the needle is going down into first, and then it's going to do a horizontal stitch over into the bunny ear or the applique portion. So I'm just going to get started, very slowly begin. If you notice you have issues starting, be sure you are holding your threads when you begin at the very beginning, and then you'll be able to sort of just get the stitch going. Now, one thing I noticed when sewing this is you have to be careful of those curves. We are attaching this applique to our fabric, which means we need to sew all the way around the edge of the applique, including all those curves. So very similar to how you would sew on a curve, you are going to need to pivot your material, you're going to need to guide your material, and this can be a little difficult since the stitch is doing so many different things. I found it a lot easier when I made sure that the needle was in the yellow, or like the main background piece of my fabric, and when the needle was in there, that's when I would lift up the presser foot and do any of the pivoting so that it wasn't occurring when it was going into the applique itself. Now for the speed for this, I did go pretty slowly. This was the speed that I went at, and then when I got to some of those really curved portions, I slowed it down quite a bit. So I made sure that I was able to see exactly where the edge was and where I needed to pivot my fabric and change directions. Now I did this for all of these bunnies that were on this quilt, and I found that the stitch really did work very nicely for securing it in place and giving it a very professional touch. I would highly recommend though, if this is your first time ever using a blanket stitch, to start off with doing some practice ones. So just cut out a circle, add some interface, and put it on your fabric, and then practice sewing all the way around that circle so you could really get the feel for those curves. Now, once you have the stitch done, you'll be able to see that your item is fully secured. You do not have to worry about backstitching with this, but it comes out so nicely and looks so crisp. I love the professional look it gives, so I think this could be used if you wanted to sew on letters to a sweatshirt, or if you just wanted to add other appliques to a pillow design, perfect for the holiday season. As I had mentioned though, the curves, especially those tight curves, could be a little hard, so let's do a little more in-depth view for that. So as you can see, my needle is currently in the yellow or the background material, and I'm just going to put the presser foot down, adjust the fabric, and then continue sewing. So now my fabric is being sewn so that the applique is going in, the needle's going back and forth between the yellow fabric and my applique, and then I am just very carefully guiding my material. And then when I get to a spot where I feel that I need to fully pivot, I'm able to. I hope this helped you see how you can use this blanket stitch though. I think it can be really helpful with adding appliques onto fabrics. Just be sure you have a lot of thread on hand. If you enjoyed this, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you want to see next.